120 days in a row of live streaming at this point, ladies and gentlemen. So we have a special one for y'all today. Also, we have Jacobs actually getting his deal done. Jacobs playing this year. I'm going to get in pretty much every football tournament on Underdog Fantasy today on this live stream. That includes the largest tournament in fantasy football history. That includes the new $6 Eliminator tournament. And that also includes the $500 Bulldog 2 tournament that yours truly won last year. This is going to be the $500 buy-in, $350,000 prize pool, and $100,000 to first place, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to go ahead and we are going to hop in this draft room. Now, there are 7 spots. This draft room is going to fill up a little bit slower because it's a $500 buy-in. It's not a $6 buy-in. So we will get a practice draft going. We will get in a $6 draft later on this live stream. But instead, let's get into Best Ball Mania. That way we can get our warm-up for that Bulldog 2 tournament. This is going to be the $25 buy-in, $15 million prize pool, $3 million for first, $1 million for second. I didn't win this tournament last year. We did get 16th place for 10,000, which was really nice, but hopefully we are able to win it this year and actually come away with the $3 million, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see where we are at. Hopefully we get a top 3 pick. Okay, we're at 6. I mean, I'm going to be fine here. Y'all know pretty much who I am going to be looking at this point, but let's move this over. And of course, as I update this buy-in mark, please, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on this live stream, subscribe to the channel. I'm live streaming fantasy football drafts every single day until the season starts. And if you want to get in a draft with us, this is Underdog Fantasy, their best ball tournament, so no time commitment at all during the season. That's how I drafted 700 teams and won $150,000 last year on Underdog. And if you sign up with promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. Plus, you're going to get my 2023 fantasy football rankings, a free trial to flockfantasy.com where you can find our 2023 fantasy football draft guide. And on top of all that, your boy got y'all set up week 1 with the Josh Allen special. More than less than half a passing yard against the Jets. That's only going to be with promo code FLOCK. And I'm actually getting y'all set up with 3 of those this next season. I also have a exciting merch drop news coming out regarding people who signed up to Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. Stay tuned for that exclusive merch drop, and I will hopefully let you know about that later on in this live stream. It depends if my girlfriend's here so she can run and grab a piece of that merch for y'all. But now that Tyreek's off the board, we are going to go ahead. We are going to take Bijan Robinson. I'm drafting Bijan Robinson after any of these top 5 players in Underdog drafts. I know this is maybe not the most useful little breakdown for y'all. I know maybe you're tired of hearing me say this. I went to University of Texas. Well, we'll get up the helmet over here, ladies and gentlemen. Hook 'em horns. Your boy also interviewed Bijan at the draft. Your boy also ran into him at the gym about a month ago at this point. So yeah, Bijan Robinson is someone that I want to root for in fantasy football this next season. I want to have fun. And yeah, so we are going to go ahead and we will take him here at pick 6. Okay, but let's see if we have any questions. Gregory says, London for Breece Hall. My running backs are JT Pierce. Flex becomes Gabe Davis. I'd go Breece Hall over Drake London, my friend, especially in a regular redraft format, even if Dalvin has somewhat a large role week 1. But Matthew says, what's up, Mason? In a 12-team full PPR, pick 3, quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex. We have Jalen Hurts, Josh Jacobs, Damian Pierce, Jamar Chase, Drake London, Evan Ingram, Tyler Lockett. And then on the bench, we have White, Flowers, Sky Moore, Tyler Algier, Tank Bigsby, Zay Jones, any moves, maybe for Dallas Goedert. I wouldn't mind at all if you wanted to trade for Dallas Goedert, get him paired up with Jalen Hurts. I actually like that idea. Now, of course, the question comes down to like, what is the price point on that? If we could trade, say, like Sky Moore and Evan Ingram or Zay Jones and Evan Ingram, we can make a deal like that for Dallas Goedert. I think it would make a lot of sense, my friend. I think it would. Now, Maserati says, strategy in a 14-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex ESPN format. Push running backs up because they're going to be a little bit harder to come by, while at the same time, you're going to want to go ahead and move move tight ends down. If it's a 14-team format, I'm going to be a little more willing to actually go ahead and punt tight ends. So we're going to take Olave here, pair him up with Bijan Robinson, essentially maybe make a bet that there are a couple Saints Atlanta high-scoring games this next season, which by no means is a guarantee, of course, ladies and gentlemen. But I like Olave a lot. If you look at his rookie season from a market share perspective as well as a receiving yards per game perspective, I mean, the only players to really be ahead of Chris Olave, or at least on par of Chris Olave since year 2000, are guys like Mike Evans, Odell Beckham Jr., I mean, Julio Jones, AJ Green, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, like only the elite level names in fantasy football. Okay. Vidium says, draft Bijan, check. $150,000, check. Bijan, gym picture, check. You're wrong, my friend. I accidentally deleted it on OBS. I will get that pulled up in a second. Draft Trey Lance. Well, we'll see. I maybe drafted Trey Lance a little today. Joking, but we'll see. And T. Higgins goes pick 23. Now, going to be interesting to see where Jacobs goes in this draft, of course. Now, there will be a lot of teams in Best Ball Mania that were able to get Josh Jacobs like at the end of the third round, like yours truly. So maybe you don't see Jacobs skyrocket up, but we'll see, because from a regular fantasy football perspective, like in your regular redraft league where you don't have to consider where the other teams took Josh Jacobs, I would draft Josh Jacobs ahead of Gibbs. I draft him ahead of Henry. I draft him ahead of Tony Pollard. I would have Jacobs up there next to like Nick Chubb and Saquon Barkley, if I'm going to be honest with you. But let's swing this back around. I'm completely fine with either Taylor or Allen, really whoever was going to fall. So we'll go ahead and we will get Josh Allen here, a quarterback that's been a top 3 quarterback from a points per game perspective for 3 straight seasons now. Y'all know generally I really like grabbing the elite level quarterback in round 3 just based off how the tiers are in this style league. So yeah, Josh Allen there at 30 is definitely a consolation for not being able to get Jonathan Taylor fall to us. But nonetheless, super pumped about the start. Bijan, Olave, Allen. I feel like we're extremely well balanced and going to be able to take some strong values later on in this draft. Now, Thomas coming out says, love the stream. Thank you, my friend. In a 12-team PPR, I went Diggs at 12, Pollard 13, JT Andrews at the 3-4 turn. Love it. Lawrence McLaurin 5-6 turn. London Dobbins 7-8 turn. I mean, Dobbins at the 801 is beautiful. With Mitchell, Mooney, Tank, Nico, Zay, Deion Jackson on the bench, any thoughts / moves? I really like the team. I like that we have the elite quarterback and the elite tight end, so we're not rostering quarterbacks or tight ends down there on the bench and taking shots on high upside players at running back, wide receiver. I would just say be quick to be willing to cut Deion Jackson if Indianapolis really goes through and does anything to bolster their running back room, even if that includes, say, trading away Jonathan Taylor and bringing in Kareem Hunt, because I don't know what the real upside of someone like Deion Jackson is. Completely fine if you want to use your last roster spot on him until we actually get that kind of clarity. But what else can we look to do? I don't necessarily know if there's any other moves that we're making, my friend. I really like this team. I mean, if we could trade like McLaurin and a small piece, like we go Terry McLaurin, Darnell Mooney, Terry McLaurin, Nico Collins, Terry McLaurin, Zay Jones, Terry McLaurin, Deion Jackson, really McLaurin in any of those bench options to get like Calvin Ridley. That way we could stack with Lawrence. I think that would make a lot of sense, my friend. But let's see. DJ Moore off the board, 36. Yeah, DJ Moore had a pretty impressive catch and run earlier today. And you have that team at 12 going through and taking DJ Moore, Justin Fields on the turn. Not too surprising to see those guys go together. Now, that team at 11 goes Keenan Allen, Mike Williams at the 3-4 turn here. I mean, you assume that they're really hoping they get Justin Herbert on the way back around at 59. Now, the issue with that is the Austin Eckler team would have to pass on Justin Herbert at 56, which by no means am I saying that can't happen. That definitely can happen. You don't know. Okay, now let's swing this back around. Jerry Jeudy no longer in play for us at 43. I mean, with a hamstring injury, it's almost impossible to take Jerry Jeudy here. Vinny says that Vinny dude is crazy. I mean, yeah, that Vinny dude has no idea what the hell he's doing, my man. Freaking clown show out here, am I right? Almost as bad as that Flock Fantasy guy. Now, let's move this over. Christian Watson off the board, pick 40. So Watson would have been the wide receiver we are looking at here. Generally would have been nice having a wide receiver, right? When we only have one wide receiver through the first 3 rounds, and that is Chris Olave. Okay. Smoking Trees goes Travis Etienne. Okay. Spam the chat, everybody. Please spam. Do you want Najee or Breece Hall? Please, everybody spam. Do you want Najee Harris or Breece Hall? The first question, the first answer I see, that's what we're going with. Okay. First thing I see is Breece, followed up with Breece, Najee, London. We're not going to go London here. Breece, Najee, Breece. Yeah, the thing with Breece Hall, obviously, you assume that Dalvin Cook's going to have a pretty large role at the beginning portion of the year. But in terms of the long-term outlook that you have with Breece Hall, this is a running back that at least has the high upside for weeks 15, 16, 17. And the vast majority of these Best Ball Mania drafts this offseason, he has not fallen here to the middle part of the 4th round. There'll be very few teams that were able to start Bijan, Olave, Allen, and Breece Hall. I mean, if any teams at all, through the first 4 rounds in this tournament. But David says trade Dalvin and Ridley for Kupp. Hell yes, go get Kupp there, my man. Hell yeah. Russ says 18th through wide receiver at PBR keeper 4-bet. I get 2 keepers and I have the first pick. Keeping Jalen Hurts. And for the second keeper, would you do Waddle for the 608 or 1208 Kenneth Walker? In a keeper league, 608, 1208, not going to be a super big deal. If you have to start 3 wide receivers, let's go ahead. Let's get Jalen Waddle because I assume that we're going to go Bijan Robinson pick 1. So if we go like Bijan, Hurts, Waddle out the gate, I think you're in a spot where you have a lot of flexibility and a lot of upside early on. And that's exactly what we're looking at. Okay, so now Aaron Jones goes 48. Y'all know I'm not a big Aaron Jones guy. And generally, once we go Breece Hall here, we are going to see if we can get a wide receiver on the way back around round 5 because we only have Chris Olave there so far. But the issue is round 5 is not a spot where you're super pumped about these wide receivers in general. Now, I did win the Big Dog tournament last year on Underdog for $100,000 with only Tyreek Hill wide receiver in the 2nd round. They're, I believe, our first 6 or 7 picks. So you definitely can do it. You can get a little unique, right? Obviously, there's no just one strategy, which is the only thing you can do in these Underdog drafts. I mean, you can definitely mix it up and go a couple different ways. But generally, we are going to try to take a couple wide receivers here while we still can. Now, Shamil says, hey, in a 10-team draft, would you go wide receiver, tight end, or quarterback? Generally, if it's going to be a shallow 10-team league, you're going to be pushing up the elite 1C position guys like quarterback and tight end, my friend. And wide receiver is going to be easier to get later on. Okay. So Hurts so good goes Justin Herbert there, 53. We are going to go ahead, take Christian Kirk. I have not drafted a lot of Christian Kirk, if I'm going to be honest with you, so far this offseason. Kirk used to go at the 3-4 turn there, and at the 4-5 turn. It was very hard to pull the trigger in comparison to some of those guys like Kenneth Walker, TJ Hawkinson. I mean, right now it looks like he may be regulated to slot duties in Jacksonville, where you have Calvin Ridley, Zay Jones working in 2 wide receiver sets, and you should push down Christian Kirk for that reason. But at the same time, I don't know. We need a wide receiver. I'm not the biggest fan of taking Deontay Johnson here. There'll be other teams at Best Ball Mania that got Deontay Johnson at a much cheaper cost, where Kirk, 54, it's going to be later than where he's gone in the majority of drafts. Okay. So now our next question coming out from Diana. Thank you so much. Says, hey, Mason, rate the 12-team PPR league where we have Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Miles Sanders, Amari, Pitts, Dotson, Jason, Sky Moore, Zach Charbonnet, Elijah Mitchell, Zeke, Bateman, Tank Dell. I really like the team overall. If we're looking at the elite quarterback, if we're looking at the tight end with a lot of upside, if we're looking at those bench options with upside as well as JSN, Sky Moore, Zach Charbonnet, I really like Zeke Bateman here. The only thing I'd say is generally with Tank Dell, he's a wide receiver that I agree. I think he can be a fine pick in underdog drafts, just considering the fact that, hell, if you draft him as like your wide receiver 7, wide receiver 8 on underdog, and he turns out to be the wide receiver 33 from a points per game perspective, then he actually can move the needle for you and make a real difference in fantasy football. However, in your just regular redraft format, it's going to be a little bit more shallow. It's going to be extremely difficult to imagine a player like Tank Dell ever really moving the needle and making a difference. But David coming out happy to see you says, appreciate you, Mason. Always love watching your videos and streams. Thank you so much, my man. I'm in an 8-team, 2 quarterback, 3 running back, 2 wide receiver, double flex, and got the last pick. Any strategies? Generally, in an 8-team, 2 quarterback format, you're not having to spaz about QBs. Everybody on average is going to be able to have 4 starting quarterbacks on their team, so the supply demand's not going to be all out of whack. Generally, I want to be passing on wide receivers, though. If it's an 8-team league where you only have to start 2 wide receivers, but you have to start 2 quarterbacks and 3 RBs, I definitely want to be looking to pass on wide receivers early just because you're going to get some insane wide receiver values late in that kind of format. But ladies and gentlemen, We have 4 spots left in that $500 draft in the Bulldog 2 tournament. If anybody wants to come out with us and draft in a $500 draft on the live stream, of course, no pressure whatsoever. We're also going to get a $6 draft going after this on Underdog as well. But I ask 3 things from you. 1, go down there, drop a like on this live stream. Help us get this pushed out. So hopefully we have enough people coming into the stream to realize, okay, we're doing a $500 draft today. That way we can get 4 more people to join with us. So go down there, drop that like. The second thing is, of course, if you want to get into one of these drafts with us, regardless if that's a $500 draft, a $6 draft, if you were new to Underdog, please don't get in a $500 draft. Get in the $6 one. You can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK. They're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. Plus, you'll get our 2023 fantasy football rankings, a free trial to flockfantasy.com where you can find our 2023 fantasy football draft guide. And also where you can take advantage of the Josh Allen exclusive special that I got y'all set up only with promo code FLOCK for this year. So please take advantage. Now we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Kittle 67. I mean, if we're looking at players that have that elite level ceiling that possibly could turn $25 into $3 million, they're not many guys, right? But I would classify George Kittle as one of those options with that crazy level ceiling. Now, once we take Kittle here, we're a little less inclined to take Pitts or Goddard on the way back around at 78 because Gabe Davis does go at 70. So all of a sudden, I mean, we're not really going to be able to have a natural Josh Allen Buffalo stack, especially with James Cook going at 73. So essentially, we want to be able to take Dalton Kincaid later on. And if we decide to go through and take Kyle Pitts or Dallas Goedert with this pick, it will be a little bit more difficult for us to take Kincaid, even if we love the values of those tight ends. Now, generally, we're going to stay flexible, right? If that's the value, we may end up going in that direction regardless. But Shamil says, hey, in a 10-team... Oh, no, I think we already answered that one. Going to our next one. Mako says, 12-team PPR draft from 11. Ended up with Richardson, Walker, Ramadre, Diggs, Waddle, Kittle, Devonta Smith, Kamara, Jason on the bench. Thoughts and any moves to make? Very well-balanced team. It is interesting to see like Kamara, JSN, because both these guys are players that fundamentally aren't going to move the needle for you, at least at the beginning of the season, but they have that long-term upside. So I like having those style options on our bench. Just a very well-balanced team that's good overall. Also with Anthony Richardson, I will say he is a quarterback that has a bunch of upside for later on in the year, given his rushing ability. However, if you're looking at Anthony Richardson for week 1, I don't know if we want to start Anthony Richardson before we actually see him producing, right? So I'd say if you have Richardson in like your regular redraft format, I don't necessarily know if we want to go ahead and just keep him there without rostering another QB. Probably stream the quarterback position early on. It should be, I did already answer this. I'll answer it again though. Yeah, so in a 10-team league, especially if you only have one flex, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to be pushing down wide receivers just because the shallower your league, the easier wide receiver depth becomes to have later on. And we're going to go Pittman at 78. So, I mean, y'all know I really like Kyle Pitts in this price range in general, but we are already saying we need to target Dalton Kincaid later on to pair up with Josh Allen. And at the same time, I mean, Michael Pittman, pick 78, getting him as a wide receiver 4 overall is great value. We clearly needed a wide receiver, only having Olave and Kirk. Now, I'm Johnny Days coming out. Thank you, sister. Always appreciate the knowledge. JT is available in my Dynasty League from a rebuilding roster. I'm offering the 112 and my future first. Is this fair? Is this not enough? Yeah, so the 112 in your Dynasty League this year is really not going to be much if you look at that, the teardrops are, regardless of if it's going to be a super flex or a one quarterback format. Now, if you are very confident that 2024 first round pick is going to be late, sure, go ahead and make that deal, pull the trigger. I will say, however, if it's a super flex league and you think that 2024 first could be early, it may not necessarily be a spot where you are super pumped to go ahead and trade away your 2024 first. Just given the fact that, I mean, hell, if that turns out to be the 102, it could be worth more than Taylor straight up next year. Brock says, I'm in a 14-team keeper, half-point PPR. If your options are Amari, Hopkins, Lockett, Godwin, or London. What are you doing? Love the channel. Thanks. So thank you so much. I would say Amari is in his own tier for me out of these options. Like if you look at Amari Cooper, he was a borderline wide receiver 1 last year. And that was I want to stress this, Jacoby Brissett under center and barely getting any action from Deshaun Watson. I mean, at the end of the day, Deshaun Watson was coming off of not playing football for 2 seasons. This next season, I think he is in a much better situation with much better quarterback play. He was more productive than any of these other wide receivers last year, so I think we have to go with Amari. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I don't exactly know what we should be doing here. The report with Elijah Moore should play preseason finale. Obviously, it's a player that's been dealing with an injury. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Deshaun Watson. I'm going to get in another quarterback that I believe has an elite level ceiling. By no means do I think this is the easy selection. By no means do I think that this is a no-brainer pick, and it could very easily be bad. But generally, in these best ball style contests, I want to make sure that we set ourselves up with the ability to have a unique pairing with a lot of upside in particular. We're not going to take another quarterback here when we have Allen Watson on the same build. The opportunity cost to take Deshaun Watson in comparison to guys like Sky Moore, Dalvin Cook, Evan Ingram, I don't really know if it's there. We can still go with the Cleveland Brown later on, whether that's Elijah Moore, David Njoku, Donovan Peoples-Jones. So we will go Watson 91 just because I think all the other options in this range are disgusting. But I'll be the first person to admit that could be a very, very bad selection. I just simply don't know what to do. Shamil asking what our thoughts are on Zay Flowers. I mean, if he's just on your bench, I'm fine with the upside play, right? I mean, the Baltimore Ravens wide receiver room is wide the hell open. I mean, I think Zay Flowers said the best reports coming out of camp. Zay Flowers is most likely the wide receiver one. Of course, by no means is guaranteed. JJ says, got the first pick in the draft. I would assume JJ or CMC. Yeah, my man, your name's JJ. We're going to go with JJ. We're going to go Justin Jefferson. I think it's going to be a no-brainer if you look at the floor and ceiling combo. But let's swing this back around. So now we are currently in a spot where quarterback, we have Allen Watson. Running back, we have Bijan and Breece. Wide receiver, we have Olave, Kirk, Pittman. Tight end, we have George Kittle. So Brian Robinson off the board, 99. If we were to take Michael Thomas, he would pair up with Chris Olave, and we could make a consolidated bet that maybe the New Orleans Saints passing offense is better than people expect. This is still a team where obviously we need some help at wide receiver. I mean, we are a little bit underweight at the position. Not saying I love Michael Thomas at this price point, but I think based off our roster construction, based off our Olave pick, Thomas would make some sense here. Okay. And Vidur coming out, long time member of the flock, says, hey Mason, in a standard 10-team redraft league, what should be my main draft strategy? I would just say in your standard 10-team redraft format, you are most likely going to be able to find wide receiver values later on. Unless you have multiple flexes and you can start you start mandatory 3 or more wide receivers. Generally, I'm going to be looking to push up the elite onesie positions in quarterback and tight end. And I'm going to be overvaluing running back in comparison to wide receiver. And that's assuming baseline as you're looking at our rankings either on flockfantasy.com or in any of the videos that we put out, my friend. But yeah, we will go Michael Thomas. We need another wide receiver. We already have a Michael on the team, so maybe we get some added on bonus there by pairing up Michael Thomas, Michael Pittman. More importantly, we need a wide receiver. He falls 7 picks past ADP. It's a $25 buy-in, $3 million first place prize, and we're pairing him up with Olave to make that consolidated bet on the Saints here, ladies and gentlemen. Daniel Jones' dad go immediately after us, so it does make me feel a little bit better about our decision to go ahead and take Deshaun Watson where we did. Now, Saram, long-time member of the Flux, says, yes, Mason, in a 12-team PPR shallow 108, if I go Bijan or Barkley round 1, round 2, should I be picking up AJ or Jacobs? If I go Hill round 1, AJ or Jacobs round 2, does it change? I would honestly say at this point, if it's a league where you have a shallow bench as well as you only have one flex spot, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take Josh Jacobs almost regardless round 2. Josh Jacobs at this point is a no-brainer selection in round 2. Obviously, these underdog tournaments a little bit of a different situation, but in your regular league, I mean, fire him up. Now, Jeep Guy coming out says, a flock mod draft tomorrow. Let's go. Hell yes, my man. Good luck. And I am very happy to go through and break that down. JJ says, how do I join the $500 draft? Might miss the answer. Okay, so the $500 draft is the Bulldog 2 tournament on Underdog. So if you look at the tournaments on Underdog, they have the $15 weekly winners. $25 Best Ball Mania. That's the tournament we're in right now. Largest tournament on the planet. They have the little eliminator. This is what I'd recommend for anybody who's new to Underdog to get in. Just the $6 buy-in, $100,000 first place prize. And then the Bulldog 2. There are 2 spots left in this league that we're waiting on. This is the $500 buy-in, $100,000 for first, $50,000 for second. I won this tournament last year, ladies and gentlemen. So this is ours. We are looking to go back-to-back here. I will accept a loss in the Bulldog 2 this year, though, if it means that we win Best Ball Mania. As long as we win one of these bad boys. Okay, let's swing this back around. Toney off the board at 112. Toney would have been a play if he would have made it to us, of course. David Njoku goes 113. Njoku was going to be our selection if we had him. And now it sucks because both our potential stacks in Dalton Kincaid, David Njoku off the board. I mean, that is pretty much worst case scenario for us, ladies and gentlemen. And I mean worst case scenario for us. Ron says 12 team standard. Keep one, Goddard or Rashad White. I'm going to go Goddard, my friend. Jamison Williams off the board. So I believe Romeo Dobbs, dealing with the hamstring injury. So at this point, we're just going to go ahead and probably take Tyler Boyd, right? Let's think through this. Yeah, let's go ahead and let's take Boyd. I haven't drafted him a lot. He has been falling a little bit in these drafts as of late. Just a much better offense overall with more spike week options than what you may have with like New England with Juju Smith-Schuster. And ladies and gentlemen, we are 1 like away from hitting 300 likes on this live stream. So please, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on the stream, help us hit 300 and help us get that $500 draft filled where there's 1 spot left in that currently, ladies and gentlemen. So should be a freaking awesome live stream, but make sure you go down there, drop a like, help us out. And let's move this down. We have Boyd off the board 115. Samaje Perine goes 117. Now let's go ahead and I love having all the OGs of the flock out here. It says 12 team at PBR keeper, quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, double flex. We're going to be slamming wide receivers in this format. Keeping Waddle for a 5th and Goddard for the 7th. What's the best way to build the rest of our team? If you can start up to 5 wide receivers on a week-to-week perspective, my friend, I'm going to actually look to go late round quarterback here, and I'm going to look to go ahead and slam wide receivers early on. If it's a start 3 wide receiver league with multiple flex spots, please make sure you are getting your wide receivers. Okay, so Rashad Penny has been falling in these drafts as of late, ladies and gentlemen. If Penny makes it down to 126, maybe we do go ahead and take Rashad Penny. I feel like we've done a good job of catching up a wide receiver when we have Olave, Kirk, Pittman, Thomas, Boyd. It's not like we're completely behind the 8 ball at this point. Rashad Penny off the board 123. Now, Zay Jones viable as well. That we took Christian Kirk. Maybe we want to pair up the Jacksonville teammates and just make a bet that either the Jacksonville Jaguars passing offense is better than people expect, or maybe you have an injury to Calvin Ridley. But now that Zay's off the board, I think we are just going to go ahead and most likely, actually, we're not going to tank. We're not going to take Tank. I think we're going to go Jamal. The reason being is when we set ourselves up with a rookie running back and Breece Hall with our first 2 picks, I really like the long-term upside that we have with this build. But it does make some sense bringing in Jamal Williams here. That way we know that we're going to have enough production at the beginning of the season. So let's go ahead and let's take him at 126. But I'm going to have to keep y'all updated with this draft because the $500 draft is full, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead. Let's pull this board up. And where are we picking? Okay, we're at pick 2. Hell yes. We're going to get Chase. We're going to get an elite level quarterback as well. Best case scenario. Let's freaking go, ladies and gentlemen. And this is happening right now. Let's go. Let's go. Okay, so CMC goes. We're getting Jefferson off the board here at 2. If y'all don't know, in these $500 drafts, in the $1,000 drafts, you have some craziness. Like in high stakes drafts, it's going to be more wild than you would have in your regular lower stakes tournaments on Underdog. Getting Jefferson off the board at 2. Hell yes. Can we get everybody in the chat spamming W or spamming GG for everybody else here? Let's freaking go. Chase Tyreek off the board 3 and 4. Okay. Mr. TD says, let's see where Bijan goes. I have a feeling Bijan Robinson's going to go at pick 23, my man. Now, I don't know why I have said feeling, but sometimes you got it. Now, Abel says in a 10-team league with 2 flex spots, but you only have to start 1 running back, I can keep Hurts for a 5th or Olave for the 9th. What's better? Oh, 100% go Jalen Hurts. 100% go Hurts. If it's a league where you only start 1 running back and then you can potentially go 4 wide receivers, keep Hurts. He's going to make up such a high percentage of your starting lineup output. But Shamil says, do you like Flowers and what's your draft strategy? Okay, we already answered that. We're using the NFL Fantasy app. Love your videos and trying to win this year. So generally, if you're on the NFL Fantasy app, the wide receiver position is going to go so damn late that you want to be in a spot where you are optimizing for quarterback, running back, tight end early, just because you're going to have phenomenal wide receiver values at the very end. But Kelsey makes it down to pick 9. Nick Chubb goes pick 7 in this draft, ladies and gentlemen. Nick Chubb goes pick 7. And please, ladies and gentlemen, this is a $500 fantasy football draft. If you have not done so already, what are you waiting for? Please go down there, drop a like on this live stream. Help your boy out. It's a $500 fantasy football draft. We just started off with Jefferson at pick 2. Diggs goes 10. A.J. Brown off the board at 11. Let's see how far Lamb falls. I mean, we have been seeing CeeDee Lamb fall a considerable amount as of late. But Midi coming out says in an 8-team league, we have Lawrence, Tua, Eckler, Bijan, ETN, JT, Akers, beautiful. The only thing I'd say is generally I'm trying to get an upgrade at tight end if we can. If we can go through and pair up like, say, Akers as well as Dallas Goedert and go and get like Andrews, I think that'd make a lot of sense for the team. But Jeremy says, thoughts on running back wide receiver stacks? Gibbs, St. Brown, Cook, Diggs. We did the research into this offseason. It doesn't really move the needle too much one way or another. It's not something that you should be avoiding, but it's not something that we're like actively going after. Now you have CeeDee Lamb making it down to pick 14. Jalen Hurts goes at 13. So sadly, we are not able to get our quarterback 1 here at the 2-3 turn. But nonetheless, I mean, maybe that just means a different value is going to make it to us. We'll see. Okay, so let's move this over. And Far Alec coming out says, hey, Mason, 12-team half-point PPR draft, 4-point passing touchdown, 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, tight end, and a flex. We have the Lamar and Andrew stack, beautiful. We have the anchor running back with Henry. We have the stud wide receiver with Tyreek. We have some high upside depth behind that with Madison, Hopkins, Watson, Kamara, Dawson, Sky, Dobbs, Warren. Thoughts on the team? Too many stacks, trade slash. No, this is a phenomenal spot to be in, my man. I love this squad. I mean, the Lamar Andrews stack puts you in such a good position, especially if it's going to be a league where you only have 4 points per passing touchdown because we are going to try to optimize for the rushing quarterbacks. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we can, even do with this team. You're in a great spot. Because you have to start 3 wide receivers and it's a 12-team format. I'm fine having those extra wide receivers on the bench as well. I generally always try to come up with something negative, try to come up with something we can improve with the team. I can't improve anything there, my man. You are in a great spot. Devontae Adams falls to pick 19. Can you imagine what I would have done on this live stream if we would have had Devontae Adams make it to us with Justin Jefferson? For us to essentially lock up back-to-back Bulldog 2 championships. Oh, would have been freaking nuts. Calvin Ridley off the board, 21. Mahomes goes as well. We are going to go Jalen Waddle here to pair up with Justin Jefferson. Do you have any idea how many teams are going to be able to pair up Waddle and Jefferson together? None. We're like the only team in this tournament that's going to have this combo. Now, what is this team doing here beyond? They go to Devonta Smith, 24. Here are the options I'm going to give y'all. Let me know what direction you want to go in. They go Jacobs. Okay, Jacobs is going to be in play for us as well. Who do you want here between Taylor, Allen, Higgins? Everybody, please spam the chat. If we go Higgins, we put ourselves in a position where we could go Burrow a little later on. The Chase team takes Mahomes, so you'd assume that they don't go Burrow. Looks like most people are saying Josh Allen, so we will go ahead and we will take Josh Allen here, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, this is a nutso team. Jefferson, Waddle, Allen out the gate. $500 buy-in. We're winning this tournament back-to-back years. Oh, this is freaking exciting. Now, Hank says, in an ESPN full PPR league where we only have 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, tight end, and a flex, 8-team league at pick 7. Hurts, CMC, Jacobs, Cup, Devonta, Ramondre Pitts. Any moves or thoughts / waiver wire pickups? Generally, 8-team league, everybody's going to look great. Now, with that being said, we freaking have CMC and Cup on the same squad. I have no idea how that freaking happens. I mean, great team. I like the Hurts, Devonta Smith stack. If we could trade like Pitts to go get Goddard, I really like that. Make a consolidated bet just on this offense. But if we have like another wide receiver feel comfortable down there on the bench with 2, if we have like a Lave or something, we can go like a Lave, Pitts, and get Kelsey. I think that'd be great. Now, after we take Allen, you have Higgins, Metcalf, Lamar, Taylor going. And for Sarah, member of the flock, and at pick 6, goes Eckler, Adams, Taylor out the gate. I mean, that is exciting. That's very exciting. This is just a wild draft. And we are 1 like away from hitting 400 likes in this live stream. So if you have not done so already, please fix your life. Go down there, drop a like on the stream. And if you haven't hit that like button yet, what the hell are you waiting for, ladies and gentlemen? This is a $500 fantasy football draft. Now, next one, Michael says, what's up, man? Michael, long time member of the vlog. Have a draft today, Shell, 10-team league at 3. Are you taking Kelsey or over Chase CMC? If it's a 10-team league where you only have 1 flex spot, I wouldn't mind if you really wanted to go Kelsey. If you think you have a significant advantage over your league mates where you'll be able to find running back and wide receiver values later on. Andrews goes pick 34. Debo goes 32 ahead of Ramondre as well as Mark Andrews. That team, No Soup for You, is always out in high-stakes drafts with us on Underdog. I mean, they know what they're doing. Tim says, keeping Amari and Mahomes in an auction draft. Either Aaron Jones at 16, James Cook at 7. Totals $135 for starters. 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, double flex. What are your thoughts? If you're telling me our budget is $135, so we're looking at like Aaron Jones for, say, 13, 14% of budget versus James Cook, about 5% of budget, where we need to go through and we need to start 7 skill positional guys. Because the depth of this league and the small budget overall, I actually probably go James Cook, if I'm reading that correctly. Now, Mixon off the board at 36. Gibbs makes it down to 35 in this draft. You're not seeing Gibbs fall that far very often. Now, obviously, what we are looking for here whenever we start off with no running backs for the first 3 rounds, if we get a couple running backs that we like making a back around to us at 47, that would be pretty nice. But Chris says, what positions are more valuable and what should I target in the first few rounds? Number 2 in a 14-team league. Generally, 14-team league, you're going to want to stay very balanced, especially if you're at pick 2, just because there can be some massive runs before you're back up to actually make your pick again. So I'd love to go with like an elite wide receiver or running back there at pick 2, and then stay balanced at the 2-3 turn and get a great feel of what your overall draft room's doing. I'm going to be a little bit more willing to punt tight end in a 14-team league, though. Will says traded Lamb, Sanders for Wilson, Pierce, Javonte. Lamb to Wilson, slight downgrade. Sanders to Pierce, slight upgrade. Picking up Javonte Williams at the same time. I mean, I think it's personal preference. The Fiji Pani, long time member of the flock, says, yo, what's good, Mason? Back for another year with you. Good luck, and let's get these dubs. Thank you so much, my man, for coming back to hang out with us. Happy to have you here. Now, ETN goes 42. I would have loved having Travis Etienne make it to us at 47. That would have been beautiful for us. Swing this back around. Okay, we are on the clock in that other draft. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take Devon Singletary as our 4th RB. For Sarah goes Drake London, 43. Yeah, so Jerry Jeudy's going to fall. Personally, I'm probably not too pumped to take Jerry Jeudy here if he makes it to us. Probably shouldn't be saying anything. It's a $500 draft. What the hell am I doing telling people what I'm going to do? Maybe I am going to take Jeudy and to throw you all off our scent. Ever thought about that one? Breece Hall goes 44. I'd have been popped to have Breece Hall at 47. Herbert goes 45. Herbert was going to be in play for us. Najee goes as well. Najee was definitely going to be who we were looking at. So I think we're going to go ahead and take DeAndre Hopkins here, 47. Not going to be thinking about that one too much. I mean, it's just once you have Najee Harris, Breece Hall off the board, I mean, you have a significant tier drop. McLaurin goes 48. Yeah, so the issue is with McLaurin dealing with the turf toe. Jerry Jeudy obviously dealing with the hamstring injury. At that point, we wouldn't be too pumped to go ahead and take either one of those wide receivers, which is why we take Hopkins. Then I think at this point, we're actually going to pivot over and we're going to go Kenneth Walker. I understand most people go Aaron Jones over Walker, but I mean, I'm going to take the running back that was better than Aaron Jones from a points per game perspective after the first month of the season last year, and he was a rookie. Whereas Aaron Jones obviously going to his age 29 season where we're assuming that you're going to see a little bit more of a decline. So yeah, let's stay balanced. Let's go with at least one running back through the first 5 rounds. So I mean, we're not completely boxed out of the position a little later on. But it would have been so much better if we could have had like Najee Harris there at 47, right? But ladies and gentlemen, just in case you don't know what's going on, we are drafting on Underdog Fantasy. These are best ball tournaments where we live stream every single night. There's no time commitment at all during the season. It's how I drafted 700 teams and won $150,000 last year on Underdog. And of course, if you want to get in a draft with us, whether that's today, tomorrow, the next day on this live stream, you can find a link to Underdog Fantasy in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. Plus, you'll get our 2023 fantasy football rankings, a free trial to flockfantasy.com, where you can find our 2023 fantasy football draft guide. And only with promo code FLOCK are you going to get set up with an exclusive Josh Allen pick'em for week 1, more than less than half the passing yard against the Jets, which I worked my butt off to get y'all. So please make sure you are taking advantage of that, ladies and gentlemen. Also have a really cool merch exclusive coming for everybody who is a member of flockfantasy.com and use promo code FLOCK on Underdog. But we'll make that announcement a little later on. I need my girlfriend to bring something in here for us. Actually, I can probably go grab it right now. Literally take me 10 seconds. Do not move anywhere. Yeah, so just in case you don't know, we have Flock hats. Mine's a little dirty because it's a little old. But if y'all want a Flock Fantasy hat, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be giving these away. I will give y'all instructions on that tomorrow on the live stream. But you will need to be a member of flockfantasy.com and have used promo code FLOCK on Underdog. Okay. But I believe our next question coming out from Jordan says 18 PPR, where we have Lamar, Bijan, Gibbs, Chase, A.J. Brown, Ramadre, Pitts. And then the best bench players we have are Amari and Madison. Any thoughts and any moves? I would love to trade Pitts to go up and get Andrews. And I say this as someone that actually does not mind the Kyle Pitts price point in the slightest. But if we could stack Lamar and Andrews, I think that would be really exciting. How I'm going to be looking to do that is possibly take Amari Cooper as well as Kyle Pitts and go get Mark Andrews, my friend, especially in an 8-team league. But what's very interesting is this team here at 7, Cognition, who's been out here with us in a considerable amount of high-stakes drafts on Underdog, goes through and starts one wide receiver through the first 5 rounds. They go Alexander Madison over wide receivers like Ayuk, Kirk, and Deontay, so they can start with Chubb, Henry, Etienne, Alexander Madison, and RB, and only Amari Cooper wide receiver. But Money Man needs to say, Mason, in a 10-team league with only 2 flex spots, I'm pick 8 and drafting today. What should my first couple rounds look like? Pick 8. I would say generally you're going to want to stay balanced. I'd probably be looking to go with at least one running back at the 1-2 turn there. I mean, I think actually Jacobs is in play for you now, but if we could start with like an elite level wide receiver like, say, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, and follow that up with like Josh Jacobs or Nick Chubb, I'd really like that, my friend. And then an elite level quarterback round 3. Okay. Now, Pitts goes 66. Yeah, so that's the team that still has only had 1 wide receiver. So they only have 1 wide receiver with Amari Cooper through the first 6 rounds. Hollywood Brown goes 67 to Versailles. Judy off the board 68 with the hamstring injury. I don't know if we would have taken Judy at 71. Maybe we would have taken him there at 74. Akers goes 69. We have a couple different moves that we could look to make here. Addison goes. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take Mike Evans. I mean, I think Mike Evans by far and away the best player on the turn. We'll see what this team does at the 612, 701. I feel like we have to take Mike Evans. Like there's a flat tier running back here if we want to take a running back on the way back around. Anthony Richardson, 72. Dear God, the Anthony Richardson hype is real if you all saw where he went in the draft before this as well. Anthony Richardson, Cortland Sutton. We're going to go ahead. We are going to get Gabe Davis to pair up with Josh Allen. $500 buy-in. And we are currently sitting with Jefferson, Waddle, Hopkins, Evans, Gabe Davis, wide receiver. We have Kenneth Walker running back. We have Allen at QB. Thank God we went Josh Allen over T. Higgins in the 3rd round. Oh, this is perfect. And yeah, I don't know why Anthony Richardson's going so much earlier than before. I mean, like I was discussing previously, the draft that we did right before this one as well, Anthony Richardson went extremely early there. He went really early there at the same time. Now, let's move this around. Joseph coming out with a massive dono. Thank you so much, my friend. Says 10-team app PBR double flex drafted at Hurts, Bijan, Chubb, Walker, Mitchell, Warren, Ridley, Williams, Evans, Hollywood, Addison, Elijah Moore, Sky Moore, Pat Frymuth, Woody. I think that this is a perfect combo of pairing together guaranteed opportunity in production early on with upside later on your team, right? Guys like Addison, Sky Moore, you don't really know what they're going to be week 1. We're probably not looking to start them immediately, but you paired them up with someone that you can start, right? It's not like we only have guys like Addison, Elijah Moore, Sky Moore on the bench. Having someone like Hollywood there makes a lot of sense. I actually just broke down someone's team that joined the flock in a podcast, and the thing that I had an issue with their build is on their bench, they only had long-term upside plays. They didn't really have any short-term guaranteed production plays. So we were sitting here going, okay, well, you're going to be at a spot where you have to cut one of these guys that you like with the upside if we want to be able to play anybody early on, and you're not going to have a lot of flexibility on the waiver wire. But the way you construct your bench in that fashion, I do think gives you a lot of flexibility where you can make waiver wire moves while still submitting a starting lineup you're happy with early on in the season. Now, what we want after we take Evans and Gabe Davis here on the turn is we are wanting to see wide receivers go, right? Cognition does get Michael Pittman 79, which I'll say, hell, I mean, getting Michael Pittman there is pretty much a blessing whenever you only have Amari Cooper through the first 6 rounds at wide receiver. But it would be really nice for us to have some running backs making it to us at 95, 98. But Mike says, NFL app 105, 1 flex at PBR. Should I go Kelsey, an elite quarterback off the rip where we only have 1 flex? 100%. Yeah, if you look at NFL fantasy, like go to the ADP list we put out on flockfantasy.com. That's going to help you out a lot. And you'll notice, okay, yeah, I mean, there are so many wide receiver values later on if you're drafting on NFL fantasy. Frank says, thoughts on Javonte. Also, please tell Underdog to add Jaleel McLaughlin, NCAA all-time rushing leader. Really dropped $5 for that, so please. Okay. Who the hell is this? Let me make sure this is a real person. Broncos guy. I'm assuming he was an undrafted free agent. Yeah, he's undrafted this year. If y'all ever want to reach out to Underdog or anything, I mean, they are super quick with customer support. So if you want a player like that added, literally email them, send it to them on Twitter or anything. They'll get that done for you. And with Javonte Williams, I mean, he's been a winner of the offseason, right? Like with Javonte Williams, this is a running back that people thought was going to be missing a considerable amount of time this next year. And he's out there playing in the preseason. So I think you can be pretty damn excited about Javonte Williams overall. I don't necessarily know if we want to be starting him right away, but I'm way more confident about him in 2023 than you could have been, say, 2 months ago. Syke asking, how do I find your draft rankings on Underdog? My draft rankings aren't on Underdog. So if you signed up to Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK and you're looking at them, check your email. Underdog's going to set you up with free access to flockfantasy.com, where all my premium content, all my rankings, all my draft sheets and stuff are over there, plus all the stuff of your other favorite fantasy football content creators. And yeah, just check your email. It'll come from Underdog. If you can't find it, it'll be in your spam, my friend. Okay. Now, Rachaad White goes 92. Would have been really nice for us having Rachaad White making it to us at 95, right? Now, Tua is in play, considering the fact that we have Jalen Waddle. Now, we wouldn't have to take Tua at 95. We could get Tua on the way back around at 98. Let's go ahead and let's take Khalil Herbert. I mean, he looks like he's pretty much the locked and loaded starter for the Chicago Bears right now, right? We need a running back. I don't necessarily know if we're passing up on a ton when we pass on the wide receivers such as Rashad Bateman, Treylon Burks for Herbert here. If we go with Tua, we're definitely done at drafting 2 QBs, considering the fact that we're now seeing like Daniel Jones go off the board here as well. I think that these quarterbacks are getting pushed up overall in this draft, so we're probably going to want to go ahead and take Tua here, especially once Dylan goes, because Dylan would have been the running back that we were looking at in this range. So let's go Tua. Now we have the Tua Waddle stack as well as the Josh Allen, Gabe Davis stack. We're going to be looking to take 3 tight ends in this draft, so it's nice only having 2 quarterbacks as well. Okay. So let's move this over. And Adam says in a 10-team PPR format, Mahomes, Jacobs, Walker, Tyreek, Hopkins, Goddard, Dobbins. And then on the bench, we have Swift, Khalil, Gibbs, Dobbs, Davis. Should I be starting any bench guys over the lineup? No, I mean, not initially. I think maybe you're in a spot where if DeAndre Swift is able to be the starting running back for the Philadelphia Eagles, then at that point, potentially we look to make the swap and go Swift over Dobbins, but we're definitely not looking to do that immediately. I like the bench and how we have the upside guys that once we have clarity on their situations, maybe we change and we actually look to start them. But Rex says in a 10-team PPR, we have Allen, Watson, Hill, Ridley, London, Mike Williams, Hollywood, Pollard, Madison, Swift, Andrews. Should I trade Allen, Matt, and Drake for Bijan and Amari? So Watson would be our quarterback. Okay, Matt's Madison. We're getting an upgrade from Drake London to Amari. We're trading Josh Allen and Alexander Madison for Bijan when we have Deshaun Watson. Yes, make that deal, my man. Make that deal. I like it. Devon coming out says in an 18 PPR league, we have Chubb, Pollard, Jefferson, Ridley, Gibbs, Pitts. And then on the bench, we have Javonte, DJ Moore, Amari Cooper. Would you trade James Cook, Deshaun Watson, Michael Thomas, and Odell for Justin Fields, Jonathan Taylor? Well, I'd rather have Justin Fields over Deshaun Watson, and I'd rather have Jonathan Taylor over James Cook, Michael Thomas, and Odell Beckham Jr. Hell yes. Especially in a shallow, like 18 format. Generally, you just want the best player in the deal. Like the depth's not going to really matter there. I'd love to give up 3 pieces if we can get the best guy in return. Ladies and gentlemen, we are 2 likes away from hitting 500 likes on this live stream. So please, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on the stream. Help us hit 500. And our next question coming out from, I believe, Jacob says, somebody got CMC and Bijan in my 12-team home league. Oh, freaking nuts, my man, nuts. Colin says, thoughts on Chase over Jefferson at the 101, Ohio homer pick. I mean, I've heard a lot of people saying Chase over Jefferson. I just simply can't do it. Jefferson was the best 23-year-old wide receiver in NFL history last year. Like, I don't know. I have not taken Chase over Jefferson once, but with that being said, I'm also not an Ohio homer. So if you really want to take your guy and root for him, I'm taking Bijan Robinson probably a little bit too early because I do want to root for my guy, my man. I'll be coming out and says, hey, Mason, I'm pick 12 in a 12-team PPR league. And wondering if I should go Lamb and A.J. Brown or Amon-Ra and Garrett Wilson in a no RB build. My 2 highest wide receivers here would be Lamb and A.J. Brown. I will say if you only have 1 flex spot, I don't want to be going wide receiver there on the turn. I'd definitely rather grab at least 1 running back and staying a little more balanced. But if you have to start 3 wide receivers or have multiple flex spots, then at that point, I think you can go wide receiver out the gate if you really want to. But Bigsby, Zach Charbonnet off the board here, 110, 111. And Sean says, not sure if you talked about this already, but thoughts on JT if he goes to the Dolphins, league winner. I mean, y'all have to remember, Jonathan Taylor was the #1 overall fantasy pick last season. There's a reason for that. I mean, Jonathan Taylor has a nutso level ceiling. So, I mean, I'm still drafting the hell out of Jonathan Taylor now that we're getting him at a dip with the uncertainty of where he plays this next year. Now, of course, with that being said, I'm the first person to admit that there's a lot of inherent risk where we are taking Jonathan Taylor. Okay. Now, It's Hunter says in a 10-team full PPR, 3 wide receiver, 2 running back, tied into flex, pick 10. We have Allen and Rodgers. Honestly, I don't really want to have Rodgers in here. I'd rather just go ahead and only roster Allen. We have Diggs, Amari, Hopkins, Kirk, Michael Thomas, Sky Moore, Zay Flowers. Running back, we have Bijan, James Conner, Rachaad White, Zeke. Tight end, we have Greg Dulcich. What are your thoughts? I definitely think that we should go ahead and instead of rostering 2 quarterbacks here with Allen and Rodgers, the reason you take Allen is so you don't have to roster another quarterback later on. I'd rather drop Josh Allen and instead go ahead and drop Aaron Rodgers and instead go ahead and pick up another tight end off the waiver wire. Because while I do like the upside of Greg Dulcich, I mean, at the end of the day, with the split that you see with Adam Troutman this season, by no means is he a guarantee where you can feel confident starting him. Now, I think we're going to go ahead and take Tyler Boyd. I mean, Rashad Penny's been falling, just given the inherent uncertainty that we have with this Philadelphia Eagles depth chart. You do have Rashad Penny going immediately after, but I think this is going to be a league where we draft 6 running backs almost regardless. So we can go Boyd here, 119, and then I think we can probably take either Jamison Williams as our last wide receiver. Or no, we'll stay a little bit more balanced. We'll go ahead and we will take Jamal Williams. I'm going to know for a damn fact Jamal Williams is going to give us 3 very strong weeks to open up this season with the Kamara suspension. While at the same time, I do think that we see some random touchdowns through the course of the year. So let's go ahead and let's take Jamal and Boyd on the turn. Let me know if you would have preferred the combination of Jamison Williams and Rashad Penny. Can everybody please spam the chat? What would you have rather had? Would you rather have had Jamal Williams and Jamison Williams, or I'm sorry, Rashad Penny and Jamison Williams, or Tyler Boyd and Jamal Williams? Please spam the chat. Let me know. Steel City Blue would rather have Penny. Everybody else saying Jalen Warren. I know Jalen Warren looked great in the preseason, but my thing is, I don't know. This is an undrafted free agent from last year's class, right? I don't necessarily think that you can sit here and say that Jalen Warren has usable weeks when Najee Harris is healthy. I know that's the popular thing to say. I just don't know how confident I'd be with that. Now, Hashling Slasher says, everything standard, full PBR Yahoo, 12 team at pick 11. Do I go double hero RB picks 1 and 2, Saquon Pollard, or RB1 and Amon-Ra St. Brown? So pick 11. I actually think we probably look to go RB, but if we could go like Saquon Jacobs or Saquon Chubb, I'd actually probably prefer that. That would probably be my optimal, my friend, just because in your regular redraft league, you're going to get great wide receiver values. Now, the Credit Genius says, where should Josh Jacobs be drafted in a full PPR format? I think Jacobs goes to the 1-2 turn now. I think Jacobs goes next to Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb. I'd rather have Josh Jacobs over Tony Pollard. At least personally, that's how I'm viewing it. Okay, now Elijah Mitchell goes 132. It would have been great to have Elijah Mitchell make it back around to us. Now, Jamison Williams fell down to 128 here. I mean, remember how early Jamison Williams used to go in these tournaments. And Money Manny coming out says, would I be crazy if I went Bijan Pollard or Bijan Jacobs through the first 2 picks? Pick 8 and hell no, my man. I would love that. Bijan Jacobs would be a great start. I'm Johnny Day says, year one of our 1 quarterback dynasty format. We had Jalen Hurts, big reason why. Saquon Barkley, Samaje Perine, Adams, Kupp, Debo, Kittle. And then on the bench, we have Cousins, Love, Fournette, Hunt, Gainwell, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Gallup, Rondale Moore, Dalton, Schultz. Offered the 112 and future first for JT. Thoughts on the repeat? Okay. I like the idea. I don't necessarily know if when we get clarity on Jonathan Taylor, if his price point goes higher than 2 future first. I like it. If we can wait until after he is traded, I think it'll be a little bit better. Because the thing is, if Jonathan Taylor is traded, all of a sudden, is he worth 3 future first in your dynasty league? Probably not, right? It's still probably only worth 2 future firsts. So if you're trading for him before we know the situation this next year, inherently you are taking on a lot of risk where you maybe don't have to. At least that's how I view it. I like the idea overall, though. And I'm fine trading away your 2024 first in that league. I'd probably rather just wait until the season's actually here. Now, the only thing we can't do is take a quarterback at this turn. Since this is a smaller overall tournament and how late we waited to take our RBs, we're definitely going to look to draft 6 running backs with this team, 7 wide receivers, and 3 tight ends. We have yet to take a tight end in this draft so far. Now, Spartan says, 12-team ESPN, 4 picks in the first 3 rounds. What are your strategies? I mean, there's not much info I can be working off here. I mean, I'd say if you add that extra pick in the first 3 rounds, you definitely can afford taking an elite level quarterback. So I definitely looked to at least get one of Allen, Mahomes, or Hurts in round 3. Jack says, PBR trade Waddle Swift. I get JT Lockett. I'd make the deal. I just think that JT has so much of a higher ceiling than those other guys this year. Now, Jordan Love goes off the board 141. Obviously, that's great for us. Gainwell goes, we're going to go to Devon Achane. I mean, we take Jamal so we can cover some production at the beginning of the season. Achane, obviously a long-term play here, 4 weeks, 15, 16, 17. But at the same time, we have Tua, so we are making a concentrated bet on that Miami Dolphins offense. I think that Devon Achane actually pairs well with Tua, considering the fact that Achane's going to be the receiving down back there in Miami. Kyler goes 144. I love the Kyler pick. I mean, get as many quarterbacks off this board as possible. I mean, just help us out. I feel like this team, honestly, is maybe donating, but I don't speak rudely in case they're on the stream. Now, they also go Russ. This team has 4 quarterbacks, ladies and gentlemen. They have Richardson, Daniel Jones, Kyler Murray, Russ. Thank God we took Tua where we did. Where we have Allen and Tua, we don't need to take another quarterback, but these other teams that need them are probably going to end up having to push QBs up their draft boards. Now, we're going to go ahead. We're going to get Dalton Schultz, 146. Just generally, I really like the price point of Dalton Schultz here. We're going to take 3 tight ends almost regardless, whatever we wait this long for the position. This is a great team. I think this is our best shot to repeat our success we had last year in winning this tournament, where we have out wide receiver Jefferson, Waddle, Hopkins, Mike Evans, Gabe Davis, and Tyler Boyd. Quarterback, we have Allen and Tua. Running back, we have Kenneth Walker, Khalil Herbert, Jamal Williams, Devon Achane. Tight end, we have Dalton Schultz. Our stacks, we have Tua paired up with Waddle as well as Devon Achane. And we have Josh Allen paired up with Gabe Davis. I freaking love this team, ladies and gentlemen. This is a great squad overall. Now, they want the Nick coming out, says standard format, 10-team league, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, tight end, 1 flex. Hometown draft. I usually play PPR, so any tips with it being standard, and do your rankings differ because of it? Hell yeah. So if you're going to be playing in a non-PPR format, you want to go ahead and you do want to pivot over to taking running backs earlier than wide receivers. Generally, running backs are going to make up a higher percentage of the elite level scores in a non-PPR format in comparison to a full PPR league. And running backs are going to make up a higher percentage of the guys that you actually want to go ahead and put into your flex spot at the same time. So let's go ahead, my friend, and let's fire up RBs in that non-PPR league. Okay. So let's move this over. Roshan Mostert off the board, 154, 155. We're still wanting running backs here, right? Oliver coming out says standard 8-team league. And I just want to point out, we did not skip over Oliver. My man, I'm not trying to be an ass or anything. It's just, please. You got to be a little bit patient with me with these questions. Your question was the next one. You're spamming the chat telling people that I missed it. I did not, my friend. But standard 8-team league, Kelsey, Cup, Mahomes, Etienne, Ridley, Stevenson, Pierce, Judy, Deontay, London, Akers, JSN, Khalil Herbert. What moves should we be looking to make? 8-team format, this is what you want to do. 8-team league, pairing up Mahomes, Kelsey gives you that significant advantage there at the onesie positions where we're going to be able to find running back, wide receiver values later on. Don't want to be rostering a backup quarterback. Don't want to be rostering a backup tight end. Instead, want to take a long-term approach on the upside of those guys. The one thing I could say is maybe we have too many wide receivers down there on the bench in an 8-team league in general. I probably would rather have maybe an extra running back or 2. Now we have Rondale Moore off the board, 160. We still are going to be taking 1 more wide receiver in this draft. With our build, I think we're going to take a total of 7 wide receivers here, ladies and gentlemen. Jake Ferguson goes 161, so we're going to take 2 more tight ends. So Ferguson definitely would have been in play for us. Gerald Everett, Greg Dulcich, both these guys have been falling like rocks as of late. I think both of them are in play if we wanted to go ahead and look at them at 167. But Jack says if he doesn't do it, would you trade Waddle and Swift for JT? Waddle and Swift for JT is going to be a little more difficult. I'd say if it's going to be like a shallow format where you only have 2 wide receivers and a flex, then maybe. It's a little bit tougher at that price point. Okay. Now, Stafford off the board at 164. Interesting to see Pickett falling, considering the fact that that other team took 4 quarterbacks. I assume that was going to move all these guys up. Yeah, the team goes ahead and takes Kenny Pickett, kind of the last QB standing. Do I really want to take Greg Dulcich? I'm actually going to take Jeff Wilson here. Generally, I don't like pairing up running backs from the same backfield, but specifically in the case of Devon Achane, Jeff Wilson, I think it makes sense. The reason being is when we take Devon Achane here, we essentially make one bet, and that one bet is that the Miami Dolphins are not going to look to bring in another running back this next season. If they trade for JT, our team's probably toast in the first place. So with that in mind, it can't hurt to go ahead and double down on said bet by taking Jeff Wilson. And I actually kind of want to look at Kendre Miller here and essentially make one consolidated bet that maybe Kamara's toast this season. I'm actually going to do that. Let's go. I don't think this is something we would do in Best Ball Mania. I don't think this is something we would do in a puppy tournament, in one of those tournaments where you really need to chase the absolute highest ceiling possible. But in these high stakes tournaments where the ceiling still matters, but it's not the only thing that matters, I'm kind of fine going through and pairing together some of these running backs from the same backfields. So let's go ahead and let's pair up Miller with Jamal, and let's pair up Wilson with Achane. And now wide receiver, we have Jefferson, Waddle, Hopkins, Evans, Gabe Davis, Tyler Boyd. Quarterback, we have Allen and Tua. Running back, we have Kenneth Walker, Khalil Herbert, Jamal Williams, Devon Achane, Jeff Wilson, and Kendre Miller. So we're essentially making 2 bets with these backfields. 1, Kamara doesn't do much this next season. Kamara's kind of toast. And 2, on top of that, that the Miami Dolphins do not bring in another running back this next year. But ladies and gentlemen, we are about to hit 600 likes on this live stream. So please, if you want to be our 600th like on the stream, go down there and drop it. And come on, ladies and gentlemen, this is a $500 fantasy football draft. If you have not hit that like button yet, what are you doing? And Haji, longtime member of the Flex, says league settings changed. Now we have 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, 3 flexes. 9th pick, 10-team league. Should I look to go Bijan or running back than slam wide receivers? I generally would want to be slamming wide receivers here in this style format where it's going to be that full PPR league where you can start up to 5 wide receivers. I don't mind at all if you wanted to go with the hero RB. That way we can be a little bit more flexible. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be going with a more wide receiver heavy approach in that style league. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and let's move this over. And Twinny says, is Dak Prescott now the best backup in the NFL? Love it, my man. Love it. And Zach says, 10-team standard league, 2 keepers. Need to keep one between Pacheco, Rashad White, or DeAndre Swift. What are your thoughts? Other keeper is Jefferson. If you're saying in a standard format, as in non-PPR, I'm probably going to go ahead and go with Pacheco. If it's a full PPR format, I'd probably take the upside of Swift just in that offense. Most likely. But Binbout Dallas, longtime member of the Flex, says PPR plus 0.5 points per carry / completion. Okay, so you really are incentivized to go heavy RB here. I have Lawrence, Bijan, Pollard, Judy, London, Zay, Andrews, Dobbins, and Javonte, Bigsby, Charbonnet, Bateman, Sky Moore, Mims. My team sucks. What moves should I make? I think on the surface, maybe it's not great, but if it's a half point per carry where we clearly went through and slammed running backs early, that's going to be the main thing that matters, and that's the main thing that leads us to a lot of upside with this build. So I wouldn't like it if it was just a regular old full PPR format, but I actually think that's a strong team, and I like the construction of the bench, where I don't really think we need to be making any moves from there, my friend. I like that in a half point per carry format. But half point per carry league is almost completely different than your regular fantasy football draft. Okay. Now let's move this back around. Devontae Parker off 186. Now we're going to be looking at taking 2 more tight ends in this league, ladies and gentlemen, and 1 more wide receiver. Deonta Foreman off 187. Happy to see it. Okay, Karate's bad boy on the clock. Funny name. No idea what they do. They go Tyler Conklin, 188. True Hubbard goes 189. Justin Ross off the board. Obviously, when we need a tight end and we have Josh Allen, getting Dawson Knox at 191 is pretty much best case scenario for us at this point. What's the report with Hayden Hurst? Hurst was not targeted in Friday's preseason game against the Lions. Hurst played most of the snaps with the first-team offense on the first 2 drives, but nonetheless finished the preseason with only 1 target, a 5-yard catch on Bryce Young's 24 passing attempts. Okay, as long as he's out there with the first team, I'm fine with it. Obviously, super small sample to be operating with. Cordell Patterson off 192. And Williams says, in an 18 PPR league, should I take Andrews in one of the big 3 quarterbacks at the 2-3 turn just to grab those positional advantages? Yes, in an 8-team league, you have to push up quarterback and you have to push up tight end. Just because if you look at the tier drop when it comes to running back, wide receiver, you're going to be able to get just strong options later on. It's going to be super easy to do it as well. Now we're going to take Hayden Hurst. We just need another tight end that's going to be starting this next year. I think Hayden Hurst could possibly outscore the wide receivers in this range. And honestly, the wide receivers here at the beginning of the 17th round are going to be very comparable to the 18th round options that we have. So let's go ahead and let's show this team off. And I believe we should go ahead and check out Versailles' team, who says, sorry, I'm taking first with this team. You'll probably get second, so congrats, friend. Okay, well, hey, if you win the 100,000 and we win the 50,000 in this tournament, I'll be fine with that. But Versailles goes Eckler, Adams out the gate. Love the Adams pick. Love Taylor at 30. I agree. You probably need to go ahead and start balance by taking Drake London 43. Burrow 54 is probably a hard call, not having any of the Bengals players. But I mean, at the end of the day, it is value. While at the same time, I mean, it looks to be the right call with quarterbacks getting pushed up the rest of this draft board. Hollywood going 67. Montgomery goes 78. Johnson 91. Great value. Brian Robinson 102. Love the pick. I like this team. It's a very well-balanced team, top to bottom. Where could you have taken Tyler Boyd? I'd say the only thing is probably taking Boyd over Odell if you have Burrow with no Chase, with no Higgins. Irv Smith Jr. goes 171. Maybe taking Irv Smith Jr. there in either round 14 or 15 as well. Just given the fact that with Joe Burrow, I mean, he's a quarterback that obviously will see his massive spike weeks the same time as his pass catchers will, because he doesn't have a lot of rushing upside, right? Like, I'm fine having an Anthony Richardson, Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson unstacked, as he can go out there and have 2 rushing touchdowns, 60 rushing yards. I mean, Joe Burrow just can't do that, though. But let's go ahead and let's get into another Underdog draft, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be the draft I recommend for anybody that is new to Underdog Fantasy. This is the $6 buy-in, $500,000 prize pool, $100,000 first place tournament, the Little Eliminator. This is actually a new tournament, a guillotine-style league, where every week the worst teams in the league are bounced. So it's essentially not who can be the best team in weeks 15, 16, 17. It's more like who can make sure that they are never the worst team throughout the course of the entire season. But we're going to be at pick 9. And there are some different strategies that we want to be changing here. Okay. Triple M says, is my stream glitched or do you have over 800,000 likes? I think we actually have over 800,000 likes, ladies and gentlemen. And if somehow we don't, y'all should go down there and fix that right now. Should not. Now let's move this over. And I believe our next question coming out from David, who says, 12-team Happy BR Dynasty format. Who would you rather keep, Amari in the 4th or Walker in the 6th? If you have a bunch of keepers where you're going to be looking to keep one of these guys next year as well, I would go ahead and take Kenneth Walker there, my friend. But Eric says Mahomes, Waller, Adams, Amari, Watson, McLaurin, CMC, Sanders, Aaron Jones, Javonte, Zach Charbonnet, and JSN. Should I trade Aaron Jones for Calvin Ridley and drop Davis for Richardson? I would say no. I mean, generally when we have Mahomes, we don't want to be rostering a backup quarterback. I mean, that's the reason you draft Mahomes. I would be fine if you wanted to go ahead and trade Aaron Jones for Calvin Ridley. Can everybody please spam the chat? And everybody spam the chat. With this team, would you rather have Aaron Jones or Calvin Ridley? Can everybody please spam the chat? Aaron Jones or Calvin Ridley? Okay, in that other draft, we are going to take McCole Hardman as our wide receiver 7 with the changes to that depth chart for the Jets. Okay. So Ridley, Jones, Jones. Jones, Ridley. It looks like most people are saying Calvin Ridley here, my friend. Now, Bijan goes 5, so sadly we are not able to get our guy here. Eckler goes, so we are going to take Stephon Diggs. I definitely prefer Stephon Diggs over the other wide receivers in this range. But Nick Chubb officially has an ADP in round 1 here, ladies and gentlemen. Very interesting to see that. A.J. Brown goes 10, CeeDee Lamb off the board at 11. But BP Ski says, let me know in a 10-team PPR format. We have Herbert, Mixon, Dobbins, Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Evan Ingram, DJ Moore. And then on the bench, we have Kamara, James Cook, Dotson, Elijah Moore, Nico Collins, Romeo Doubs. Should I be picking up Rashad Bateman? If we were going to pick up Bateman, we would have to drop Collins. And yeah, I actually think Rashad Bateman has a higher ceiling than Nico Collins. Or Romeo Doubs. Actually drop Romeo Doubs because Romeo Doubs is now dealing with a hamstring injury. So I think I would rather have Bateman there, my friend. But Barkley goes 14. So what's the report on Nick Chubb? Not in line to play, but hell, I mean, if we're going to get Nick Chubb here at 16, if you look at the way that these ADPs line up, where Diggs has that ADP 8.8, Chubb has an ADP, I mean, at pick 11, pick 12, there are not going to be a lot of teams that are able to start off with the combo of Stephon Diggs and Nick Chubb. So unique combo where we're not sacrificing upside, the main thing that we are looking for, ladies and gentlemen. The main thing that we are looking for. Now, Aiden says trade Walker and Debo for Olave and Sanders. Yes, I would. I think Olave is just in that completely different tier. And Joseph says full BBR 2 quarterback, 8-team league. Starting lineup is Hurts, Cousins, Bijan, Stevenson, Walker, Smith, Amari, Hopkins, DJ Kels. I was going to say okay team seems a little average for an 8-team format just because you expect everybody to be so much better in an 8-team league. But once you add in Travis Kelce there, I mean, that's just a freaking dominant roster. But thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for everybody coming out here and hanging out with us in the live stream. And we are about to hit 700 freaking likes on this stream, so thank y'all. And of course, if you want to get into a draft with us, whether that's tonight, tomorrow, the next night, we're doing this every single night on the live stream. These are Underdog Fantasy drafts. They're best balls to no time commitment at all during the season. So I drafted 700 teams and won $150,000 last year on Underdog. And of course, if you want to join with us, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK. Underdog's going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. Plus, you'll get our 2023 fantasy football rankings, a free trial to flockfantasy.com where you can find our 2023 fantasy football draft guide. And plus, only with promo code FLOCK, because your boy worked his butt off to get y'all set up with this, are you going to be getting an exclusive Josh Allen special pick'em, more than less than half a passing yard for week 1. So please make sure y'all are taking advantage of that. But Jay asking, who wins in a street fight, Daniel Jones or Kirk Cousins? I'm going to go Daniel Jones, more athletic dude overall. Pretty sure Daniel Jones is much bigger than Kirk Cousins as well. I mean, I don't want to say much bigger, but I'm pretty sure he's bigger, right? Let me look up Daniel Jones' size. Daniel Jones is 6'5", 230. There's no way in hell Kirk Cousins is 6'5", right? Kirk Cousins is 6'3", based on the Netflix documentary. Yeah, I mean, Daniel Jones just looks much bigger. Can everybody please spam the chat? Who do you think wins in a street fight, Daniel Jones or Kirk Cousins? My money would be on Daniel Jones. Also, he's younger. Okay. Josh Allen goes here 75. I mean, I think we've drafted Josh Allen in every draft so far today. Daniel Jones, Kirk, Jones. Vadim says Jones, but I think Cousins would be scrappy. I don't know if Cousins would have a chance. Taylor goes 31. There's a small chance you're going to get Taylor. Where to go Metcalf? I used to take Amari over Metcalf, but with the Jackson Smith and Jigba injury, I think you have to push Metcalf up now. I think you have to. And Thomas says 12-team PPR, 2 wide receiver double flex. Fields, Geno, Gibbs, Madison, Javonte, Charbonnet, Jefferson, Ridley, JSN, Odell, Tank Dell, Komet, Kincaid. What are your thoughts? Should I drop a tight end or quarterback for another wide receiver? No. I don't think you need a roster 2 quarterbacks if we have Fields, but we definitely need a roster 2 tight ends if we have Komet and Kincaid. It's definitely a weird spot in that I don't love our wide receiver depth, but I don't know if we can get away with dropping one of those guys. It'd be nice if we could trade Geno for another receiver. Isaac says, strategy in a 14-team league where we only have to start 1 running back. Yeah, generally you're going to be punting RB here. I'd love to go Jefferson, and then if we can, at the 2-3 turn, go with an elite tight end and an elite quarterback. I go Jefferson, Lamar, and we'll go Keenan for the unique combo. If we can go like Jefferson, Lamar, and Andrews, I think that would make a lot of sense. Generally, I'm telling people to punt tight end in a 14-team format, but that's under the circumstance where you have to start 2 running backs, and running backs are going to be harder to come by. In a league where you have to start 1 running back, I mean, who the hell cares? Now, Dr. coming out says, 12-team standard scoring, 2 wide receivers and a flex. I have the 4th pick. Is that too early to take Bijan if CMC is gone? No, I would say probably go Kelsey instead, though. And who would you target round 2 if I do decide to go with a running back? Round 2, if you wanted to stay balanced, and if you had like A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson falling to you there, I think you can. Or if somehow you have like Josh Jacobs falling to you at that point in round 2, if people don't completely adjust with him being back, I think that also makes sense. Like in your regular redraft formats, I expect Jacobs to still be a pretty good value because I don't think people are going to go all in immediately at the new ADP. Okay, so now after we take Keenan Allen, you have Christian Watson, Najee Harris, Drake London all off the board. Chris says, Mason, are we not worried about Keenan's age? Yeah, generally, I've not drafted a lot of Keenan this year. I think that there are very real signs of Keenan Allen probably being a bust in fantasy. That way, for that reason, if I go ahead and pull up how many underdog drafts I've taken Keenan Allen in, I have Keenan in 4% of my drafts. But it's not like I can completely fade Keenan Allen, right? It's not like I can have Keenan Allen in 0% of my leagues because I could 100% be wrong. Keenan Allen could be good this next season. And we're getting him at a very fair price point here at Big 40. He has an ADP of like 34. So if you look at how teams start in this overall tournament, there'll be very few teams that have I would say almost no teams in this tournament that have the combo of Diggs, Chubb, Metcalf, Keenan Allen out the gate. So Jay says, do you see Taylor playing this year? Will Dalvin Cook still be elite? I think Dalvin Cook will have a very large role at the beginning of the season, and I think he's going to scare the hell out of everybody who drafted Breece Hall. By the time we get to the end of the year, however, specifically for the fantasy football, like playoff tournament, etc., I do think that Breece Hall is easily going to be the running back 1 for the New York Jets. With that being said, I do think Jonathan Taylor plays this year. I don't exactly know what situation he does play in, but Jonathan Taylor has extremely little leverage in this situation. Like Jonathan Taylor is in a position where essentially he has no other option but to play this next season. Now, in these Eliminator style drafts, while definitely bye weeks are not everything, and that's not the number one thing that I'll be focusing in on, it is something to keep in the back of our mind. And through the first 4 rounds, we have 3 players with the week 5 bye with Chubb, Metcalf, as well as Keenan Allen. So here, when in doubt, at pick 57, we probably don't want to go through and take another week 5 bye, but obviously it's not the biggest deal in the world, right? Now, Aaron coming out says, hey, Mason, 12-team PPR, 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, 1 flex. We have Burrow, Barkley, Etienne, A.J. Brown, Mike Williams, JSN, Pitts, Dalvin, Quentin Johnson, Zach Charbonnet, Bigsby, Jamal. What do you think? Should I trade for a better wide receiver 3? League where you have to start 3 wide receivers, I mean, it's definitely intriguing. I would say that if we look at how much running back depth we have, it would make a little bit of sense to see if we could package together like Dalvin Cook, Quentin Johnston for an RB3 that we can implement essentially right away, right? Because the thing is, at the end of the day, if we're looking at this team, you're probably in a spot where you're not able to start Jackson Smith-Njigba early on. You have someone in Jamal Williams that we could definitely cover at running back through the first 3 weeks of the season minimum. So we don't really need the early season production from Dalvin in particular. So if you could go like Dalvin and Quentin Johnston and go get a wide receiver upgrade that way, I think that would make sense, specifically for how you're positioned early on in the season. Okay. Now, Lawrence goes off the board 61. So we went Deontay Johnson just because if you look at how we were set up there with the wide receivers that would be on the way back around to us at 64, we couldn't really take the Tampa guys with them having a week 5 bye. And like we already discussed, I mean, it's not everything, but it's something we want to keep in the back of our mind. And we will go ahead and we'll take Terry McLaurin here. By no means am I sitting here and saying that McLaurin's the only selection that you can make. I think you can stay flexible here. And with Terry McLaurin, with him dealing with the turf toe / sprain toe, whatever the hell it is, I mean, this is a spot where he's probably going to miss at least week 1 and possibly a few more weeks where you're not super pumped about that in a guillotine-style contest, but it is a pretty strong value here at pick 64 overall, and this does put us in a position where we could go 3 quarterbacks, 6 running backs, 6 wide receivers, and 3 tight ends in this tournament, which is a structure that I think you have no reason to build in a regular Underdog Fantasy Football tournament. However, if we are looking at these guillotine-style leagues on Underdog, I think it actually is a little bit interesting. Simon says, drafted a 12-team PPR 1 quarterback dynasty team last night where we have Burrow, Chubb, Madison, Garrett Wilson, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Mayer, Brandon Ayuk, Alvin Kamara, Mike Williams, and Antonio Gibson. What are your thoughts? Definitely a team that is a unique build of production for the short term as well as the long-term upside. I think that if we are actually contending this next year where we start off like 4-1, then at that point, maybe you want to go ahead and sell your 2024 first. That way we can bring in someone, say, like Saquon Barkley, to essentially lock it down and win it for us this season. Whereas if we have like a key injury to say like Garrett Wilson or CeeDee Lamb, and then all of a sudden we look like we need to actually play for the long term, then at that point, we're probably going to look to trade away those short-term assets like Alexander Madison and Nick Chubb for future picks. But well-balanced position you find yourself in going into the season. I think we just have to wait until we have more information regarding that situation. Now, Anthony Richardson off the board 71, ladies and gentlemen. This is 3 drafts in a row now where we've seen Anthony Richardson go extremely early. Let me see how much Anthony Richardson I have, because I'll tell you, if Anthony Richardson continues to go in round 6 and round 7, I will not draft Anthony Richardson another time through this offseason. So I have Anthony Richardson in 10% of my drafts. So, yeah, I mean, I'm completely fine with that. So, now, Aaron Kibadowski says, thanks, Mason. Great trade package. Who should I try to go for as a wide receiver 3 and a running back 3? Or do you suggest to specifically get with that package? Don't necessarily need a running back in return if we're going to be looking at that kind of deal. If we're going to trade away, say, I believe it was Dalvin Cook and Quentin Johnston, and we're going to look for a wide receiver in return, the wide receivers I'd be looking at, I would like to see if we could get like Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, Amari Cooper, Christian Watson. Those are going to be the guys that I'm looking at, my friend. That tier of wide receiver. Okay. Now we have Cam Akers going 76. So at this point, we definitely don't need wide receiver help, right? I mean, we're sitting pretty at wide receiver overall. Now, there really aren't any other guys with that week 5 bye that we potentially have to be worried about here. Cam Akers does go 76. Sanders 77. I would have loved Miles Sanders making it to us at 81. That would have been like best case scenario for us. Javonte Williams goes 79. Zay Flowers goes 80. We're going to go ahead. We are going to take David Montgomery. And Jay says, is it a good idea to max out entries in Best Ball Mania? Did you? Yeah, so I personally go ahead and max out my entries in Best Ball Mania. But at the same time, I'm sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. This is my job. There is a clear reason why I'm able to get into so many high-stakes drafts, right? That's because I am sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. So just because I maxed out my Best Ball Mania teams and I'm going to draft 150 Best Ball Mania teams this year, by no means does that mean that is the best situation in what you should be doing. It's very difficult for me to say this is something you should or should not do. I think it fundamentally comes down to what your financial situation is, how much experience you have in these underdog drafts, and if you've proven to yourself over a large sample that you are good at doing these, right? I would say as a rule of thumb, don't be entering into any underdog fantasy drafts where you aren't comfortable losing the money. Like, don't think, okay, I'm going to spend $2,000 entering in underdog drafts, and I need to make at least 1,000 of this back at the end of the football season, or I'm financially ruined. That would be the dumbest and the worst thing for you to do. If you're going to go through, and yeah, I mean, I guess it would be about $3,800 to max out Best Ball Mania. If you're in a financial position where you are fine spending $3,800 to max out Best Ball Mania with zero expectation for that to come back to you, then go ahead and do it. It's impossible for me to say, oh, this is a good idea for everybody. Yeah, everybody go ahead and do this. No, of course not. Of course not. If you budget out and say, okay, with these drafts, I want to have fun and I want to go ahead and get some practice in for my main fantasy football league, and I am going to be okay if I lose $10 in these drafts this year, $20 in these drafts this year. Or if you're Bill Gates and you're fine losing $10,000, it obviously is wildly dependent based on your financial situation. I'll just say, definitely never enter in any fantasy football draft, regardless of if that's your high school draft with your buddies or a draft that you're doing on Underdog Fantasy where you don't feel comfortable losing the money that the buy-in is. I hope that's the best way that we can say that. But Nicholas says, how do you feel about this team in a 12-team double flex league? Quarterback, we have Watson. Running back, we have Breece Hall, James Cook, Alvin Kamara, Miles Sanders. Wide receiver, we have Olave, Jamar Chase, Jahan Dotson, Rashad Bateman, Elijah Moore, Cortland Sutton. So we went Jamar, Olave, I'm assuming through the first two rounds. We went Hall around three. I honestly don't love the team, my man. I think it has upside. I like it a little bit more with the Jerry Jeudy injury regarding Cortland Sutton. It's encouraging with the James Cook usage in Buffalo as well. The issue is early on in the season, you may be in a position of you don't know how you're going to get by at running back, right? Like we have Breece Hall where you may not be able to start him at the beginning of the year depending on the Dalvin Cook usage. While at the same time, you have Kamara suspended early on. So I think it has a lot of long-term upside. In the immediate term, I don't know. Okay. Now, Simon says, should I trade Madison in the future first for Jacobs? I'm generally never trading away 2025 first in Dynasty Leagues. I mean, if you come to the conclusion week 6, week 7, week 8 that you're ready to contend, then go ahead and make that deal. But there's no reason to make that trade as we sit here August 26th. Okay, so Michael Thomas off the board, pick 100. Odell Beckham Jr. goes 101. Like we already discussed, I mean, by no means are we in a spot where we need to have a wide receiver making it back to us. Running back, we have Chubb, Montgomery, Swift. Wide receiver, we have Diggs, Metcalf, Keenan, Deontay, and McLaurin. I feel like we balanced out the bye weeks enough where we're not too worried about any particular bye week at this point. Mr. TD says, I use the underdog drafts as practice for redraft leagues. You can feel out how people are currently drafting. I would say that's the number one best way for people to use underdog, to be honest. Like if you were new to underdog, I'd definitely go and just hop in a couple $3 drafts, right? It's going to be the best place that you could possibly prepare for your main fantasy football draft this next season. Colin says, hey, Mason, do you think they'll interview you when they do the Trey Lance 30 for 30? I don't really understand what you mean by this, my friend, because who is they? Who is making this 30 for 30? I'd assume that the Trey Lance 30 for 30 is going to be produced by Flock Fantasy, no? I don't know if Flock Fantasy will interview us because obviously there's a little bit of conflict of interest. But now A.J. Dillon, Zach Charbonnet, Daniel Jones all off the board. So we take Tua there. We're completely fine having Tua unstacked. Like overall, I'm fine having quarterbacks unstacked in this style draft in the eliminators in particular. Okay, so I think we're going to go ahead and take Kadarius Toney. Now, y'all know earlier this offseason, we were calling Kadarius Toney the worst pick in fantasy football drafts. That was when the man was going round 6. That's when he was going ahead of Mike Evans. Here, getting him pick 112 is a completely fair price point. Him going between Juju Smith-Schuster, Romeo Doubs, going after Odell, Michael Thomas, Treylon Burks. This is where his upside should have been taken all along, and I'll be completely fine drafting Kadarius Toney at this price. Him going next to Mike Evans, horrendous draft pick. People should be embarrassed that they ever did that. Him going here next to Romeo Doubs, he could possibly be the wide receiver 1 for Mahomes, and I'm going to be completely fine to pull the trigger there. Okay. Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, just in case y'all haven't heard me say this a million times by now, we are drafting on Underdog Fantasy. These are best ball drafts, so no time commitment at all during the year. So I drafted 700 teams, won $150,000 last year. And of course, if you want to get into our next draft with us, whether that's tomorrow, the next day, we're doing it every single day. You can find the link to Underdog in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK. They're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. Plus, you're going to get our 2023 fantasy football rankings, a free trial to flockfantasy.com where you can find our 2023 fantasy football draft guide. Plus, only with promo code FLOCK did your boy hook you up with an exclusive Josh Allen pick'em, more than less than half a passing yard against the Jets week 1. And I'm going to get y'all 3 of those exclusive pick'ems this year. And also, you may or may not have some exclusive merch going in your direction if you were a member of flockfantasy.com as well as signed up to Underdog with promo code FLOCK. But Jay says, Hyatt is the most talented of the Giants wide receivers. I'd say Wan'Dale does. Could he be the steal of drafts? Seems like he's going higher and higher. What are your thoughts? I mean, yeah, obviously looked good in the preseason. And what's interesting with Hyatt is I don't want to say he is the most talent of the New York Giants wide receivers, but all the Giants wide receivers essentially profiled to be like slot guys, right? They're players that are operating close to the line of scrimmage, blah, blah, blah. Whereas Hyatt's the one player that actually could be that downfield weapon. So you are a little bit more inclined to go ahead and say Hyatt at least has a guaranteed role. I think Hyatt is not appealing in regular redraft formats because I don't know if you're ever going to know exactly when you should start him. But in best ball drafts, I'm completely fine if you want to go through and take Hyatt. Now, Taj coming out with a donation. Happy to see you, my man. Says 10 team PBR, 1 quarterback, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 1 flex. We have Lamar, Bijan, Bark. How the hell? Saquon, Kupp, Diggs, Smith, Pitts, Hopkins, Jalen Warren. No, there are no moves to make. I'm assuming this was a keeper league. How the hell do you have Bijan, Barkley, Kupp, Diggs on the... You are going to just freaking dominate, my man. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything we can say to do with that team. Now, similar to how we were making fun of people taking Kadarius Toney in round 6 earlier this offseason, we were also making fun of people who were taking Samaje Perine next to freaking Alvin Kamara earlier this offseason because Samaje Perine simply doesn't have the upside in weeks 15, 16, 17 in my mind to truly move the needle for you. However, this is a guillotine style league where we're looking at equal importance in weeks 1, 2, 3, 4 as weeks 15, 16, 17. So to go through and now get Samaje Perine here, pick 129 as a running back 4, this is where he should have been going all along. This is where he's a value, and this is where I'm excited to take him. Now, Ezekiel Elliott goes, so we're going to go ahead. We are going to take Elijah Mitchell as well. This is a style league where I'm completely fine taking 3 quarterbacks, 3 tight ends together. And honestly, I may go with only 6 wide receivers because, I mean, we went wide receiver heavy out the gate, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we're sitting at wide receiver with Stephon Diggs, DK Metcalf, Keenan Allen, Deontay, Terry McLaurin, and Kadarius Toney. I really like our wide receiver room. We're running back. We have Chubb, Montgomery, Swift, Samaje Perine, Elijah Mitchell. Quarterback, we have Tua. So I think we can go 3 quarterbacks, 3 tight ends, 6 RBs, and 6 wide receivers. But Freddie says, please rate the team in a 10-team PPR, 1 quarterback, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, double flex. We have Kelsey, Adams, Garrett Wilson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Justin Fields, Drake London, Dobbins, Javonte Gibson, Gabe Davis, Kincaid, Boyd, Prescott. I really like the team overall. Seems like we got a lot of value and a lot of high upside options. But the only thing I'd say in general is I don't love rostering both 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends, especially when you go Travis Kelce round 1. A big reason why you do that is so you can use that extra roster spot down there on the bench for a high upside running back rather than having to roster a backup tight end. So specifically with this style team, I would probably be looking to see if we could go through and package together, say, Dalton Kincaid with one of those running backs for a running back upgrade. I go Dalton Kincaid, Antonio Gibson, and see if we can get a running back that we like a little bit more in return and use that extra roster spot that we have on possibly another RB. But that's just because we have Kelsey. And now Jam says, rate the team in an ESPN 12-team PPR format. Second pick, 2 running backs, a wide receiver, and wide receivers. We have 1 tight end and flex. Chase Olave, Mahomes, Walker, Hawkinson, Ayuk, Dobbins. And then on the bench, we have Sky Moore, Herbert, Charbonnet, Elijah Moore, Bateman, Biggs. Beautiful team, great tight end, great quarterback, high upside running backs, wide receivers across the board. We're not rostering a backup quarterback. We're not rostering a backup tight end. Instead, we are taking those high upside shots on running backs like Khalil Herbert, Zach Charbonnet. Makes a ton of sense. Love that team, my man. Now, let's move this around. Purdy goes 146, pick it off the board as well. So generally, we are in play for quarterback a little bit earlier than usual, but we'll go ahead and we will take Tyler Higbee, 153. Like we already discussed, we do want to go ahead and take 3 tight ends where we can here. So I think Higbee makes a lot of sense, and considering how strong we are at wide receiver, I don't even know if we need to take another wide receiver through the rest of this draft. So let's just look at quarterback, running back, and tight end here. As Jay says, thoughts on Vivek? My man, okay, this is something we actually will have to go through and reiterate for anybody that is new to the flock, okay? Because we had to deal with this in 2020, and we are going to have to deal with this again in 2024, but better to talk about it now than otherwise. Ladies and gentlemen, I know this is going to be very surprising to a lot of people here, but this is a fantasy football channel. People come to this channel for fantasy football. People come here to escape the annoying, harsh realities that people are tired of hearing about. The last thing people come here for will be political discussion and thoughts from you in the chat, thoughts from me on the live stream. The last thing that matters here is politics. Nobody wants to hear it. You shouldn't want to hear my opinion. I'm a 24-year-old kid that spends 80 hours a week thinking about fantasy football. Why would a small inkling of my political opinion matter in the slightest to you? It shouldn't. And neither should anybody else's in the chat. So I will have to reiterate this, I guess, a couple times on this live stream, because I guess politics is the thing that people are talking about again. But there's no room for that here. Nobody cares. And please take it somewhere else. Okay. And I'm not trying to be mean to you, my friend. I know we're saying that in a harsh term, and I know you're probably just interested, but I just want to draw the line here, because I think the last thing people want is on a fantasy football channel, us to be sitting here talking about politics. Now, Devon Singletary goes 171, and Sacramento says, got a 2 quarterback, 2 wide receiver, 2 running back, half PPR, 10-team draft tonight. Do I go double quarterback to start off the draft? Also, 6-point passing touchdown. If it's a 6-point passing touchdown format, I actually think that, yes, you are interested to go ahead and take those quarterbacks early, especially if you can get 2 elite level options. I definitely want to at least go 1 quarterback there in round 1, round 2, and then get a gauge of what the rest of your league mates are doing, because in a redraft 2 quarterback format, it's going to be very dependent league to league where those QB2, QB3 options are going. But Greg Dulcich off the board. Let's swing this back around. Ferguson goes, so okay. There are not too many starting quarterbacks left, so I'm going to go ahead and just lock in a starting quarterback while we can. The last thing I want to do is get boxed out and have just no shot at QB. That's the last thing that I want to happen. But Carson says, keep this channel about ball. It's an escape. Yeah, exactly. That's what it is for everybody. I mean, I watch a bunch of YouTube videos, right? I'm on YouTube all day, every day. And if I'm watching like a finance YouTube video or just regardless of anything, I mean, like I said, one, I'm not a super political person in the first place. I don't really care. So maybe it's a little bit different, but two, I mean, even if I did and even if I was super political, nobody freaking, like, that's not what people come here for. All right. Like I said, my opinion does not matter and should not matter. I can barely have okay calls from a fantasy football perspective, and this is all I think about, and this is all I spend my time doing. So if we step into a completely different realm, I'm just going to be even dumber than I am otherwise. Okay. Now, Chubbard off 182. Stroud goes, I'm just going to go ahead and get another quarterback while we still can. I'm trying to think. Maybe we go Ritter just to spread out the buys a little bit between Tua, Bryce Young, and Desmond Ritter, because obviously having, a high quarterback score each and every week is going to be so damn important to make sure you're never the bottom team in this overall bracket. So let's go ahead and let's get Desmond Ritter. Drew says, you're 24. Dude, you have some miles on you. You look 43. Yeah, I mean, if y'all don't know, live streaming every single day and never taking a day off of work for 4 years. Put some tolls on you. Put some miles on the tires. Chris says, should I trade Judy and Zach Charbonnet for Sam Howell, Jordan Addison, or Judy for Calvin Ridley? Oh, hell yes. Hell yes. Go ahead and trade Jerry Judy for Calvin Ridley straight up. Oh, no, it's a dynasty format. Never mind. Other wide receivers are Garrett Wilson and Amon-Ra St. Brown. When you say charts, if you mean DJ Chark, hell yeah, go ahead and trade Judy and trade Judy for Addison in a dynasty format. I think that makes a ton of sense, my friend. I think that does make a ton of sense. Adam says this is a 3 QB, 3 tight end tournament. Yes, I would say generally in this style tournament, I am putting up myself in a position where we can go ahead and we can take 3 quarterbacks, 3 tight ends in the majority of these drafts. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, if y'all want to get into another draft with us, if you want to have some fun, draft fantasy football teams, and not have to worry about political discussion, of course, you can find a link to Underdog Fantasy in the live chat in the description in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you are going to get a 100% deposit match up to $100 on Underdog Fantasy. Best ball tournaments, no time commitment at all during the season. That's how I drafted 700 teams and won $150,000 last year on Underdog. If you use promo code FLOCK, they're going to match first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. Plus, you'll get our 2023 fantasy football rankings and a free trial to flockfantasy.com where you can find our 2023 fantasy football draft guide. And lastly, only with promo code FLOCK, you're going to get hooked up with the Josh Allen special pick'em, more than less than half a passing yard, which I work my butt off to get y'all, so please make sure you are taking advantage. But I think that should be it for this live stream, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to go ahead and probably cut the stream here. In this draft, I'm going to take one more running back, one more tight end. Keep in mind, our draft strategy is just going to be very different here in this style tournament than it would be in a regular underdog league where maybe we're a little bit more inclined to chase upside, but this is the Eliminator style draft. We're essentially want to make sure that we just never have a really bad team, right? But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. I really, really do appreciate y'all, and I really hope I get to see you out with the live stream tomorrow night.